Hi there, and welcome to an Ignite Press livecast. My name is Everett O'Keefe, and I'm the founder of Ignite Press. And here we specialize at helping people bring their messages to the world. And today is completely unique. I've not done a livecast like this, and we've not published a book like this. And this particular book strikes very close to home because the author and her now deceased husband are people I know, and this is going to be an interesting time and a really touching story that I want you to hear. A story of loss and a story also of surviving and moving forward. It's a story about a guy I went to high school with, and let's just get into it. I it's one of those things. How do you prepare for this? I want to bring on Danell teNyenhuis Black, and we're going to talk about her book, which I will bring up, and that is Suddenly: A Widow's Story of Unexpected Loss and Healing. And let's just get Danell on here. Danell, I'm sorry, that wasn't my normal introduction, but this isn't, like I said, a normal story or a normal book for us. So, Danell, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for taking what is a lot of heartbreak and healing and putting it in this wonderful book. So, Danell, why don't we start this way? Why don't we start by you just telling us a little bit about yourself, and then let's get into the story of Patrick and what happened.
Thank you, Everett, and it's been a pleasure working with you too. Well, I'm Danell teNyenhuis Black. I was born and raised in Central California and got married to my college sweetheart that I dated for 6 years. We have 2 beautiful daughters. And in 2016, I was working as an insurance in insurance customer service, and I woke up one morning and Patrick, my husband, hadn't come home from his bike ride. And throughout the day, I went looking for him, and it turned out there was a collision, and eventually I found out that it was fatal and he hadn't survived. What touched me the most during the day was just the outpouring of well wishes from everyone, both from the cycling community here in Fresno, and then also my family and friends. And throughout the day, I got a steady stream of messages on Facebook and text. And sometimes people tell you, oh, don't read those when you're going through something. But for me, it really kept me going during the day. That and the fact that I just was surrounded by love at home. But it just really touched me. And a few weeks after Patrick died, my friend Sonia Parso brought some journals over for the girls and I started journaling about my grief. And I did eventually publish that on my blog, not until quite recently. But as you can imagine, the beginning journals were pretty raw. Eventually, I switched to a blog and started sharing my writing because I was receiving positive feedback, when I posted things on Facebook. And one of the first things I shared was just the story of that day. And I used the text and posts that I received from people just to highlight, what a difference it made for me during that day. And I continued blogging. Eventually, I went back to school.
Let's pause there for just a second, because I think, honestly, this is one of the many powerful things about your book, is that you have chosen to include the text messages that happened on that day, and I want to read a couple of them if you don't mind. This is Wednesday, April 20th, 7:53 a.m. and you're texting Janet, and you said, I have an emergency. My husband is missing, and I think he might have been in an accident. I'm waiting to hear. I'll let you know. And then at 8:21 is this message. Hi, friends. There was a fatal bike accident on Shaw, and Patrick is missing. My nephew is trying to get details. Please pray. You are laying out your experience moment by moment. And 8:38, my husband has not come home from his bike ride. And Kathy's asking, what can I do? And you're writing, nothing. It's a waiting game. I know there was an accident. And then, it goes on. And I think that this is a window into a day unlike any window I've ever seen. That you've done this, and I want to share, Patrick, to our listeners and watchers and etc. Patrick, this guy I went to high school with Patrick, and he was larger than life. He was the most vivacious and outgoing person I'd ever met. He was the guy that showed up to the prom wearing a tuxedo that was Hawaiian print. And that just says a lot about Patrick. Honestly, he was a guy that you just couldn't be around without smiling, because that was him. That's how I experienced him all through high school. And then to get this news, that Patrick, larger than life Patrick, had was taken from us in an instant, on a morning bike ride, right? Was absolutely shocking. For you, Danell, I don't even know how you breathed. I just don't even know how you breathed while you were getting this information that there was an accident, that there was a fatal accident, but you didn't know if Patrick was in it. But Patrick wasn't home yet, and Patrick would normally be home. Can you describe that as to what you were going through at that time? I just don't even know how you take a step forward or take the next breath in that time.
Well, I always say that shock is a good thing at times, because when something like this happens, you're in fight or flight mode. You don't really have time to feel all of the emotions. So I think I was just moving forward, and my daughters were 17 and 19 at the time. One was home with me and getting ready to go to school, so I was concerned about her. My oldest daughter, Sierra, was in school at Long Beach, 4 hours away. So that was hard. Luckily, my oldest sister was living in LA at the time, and she was able to go over to get Sierra, and she just told her to pack a bag and get ready to come home. And I think God and Patrick were watching over her, because she didn't text or call anyone or try to get any information. And I hated telling her over the phone, but I didn't want her in the car for 4 hours, not knowing what she was coming home to. So that was a really difficult part of the day. But I think the fact that I had them, that really is what kept me going. I knew that I needed to be there for them, because they were so close to their father, and they just, they had to be okay.
I know that there probably have been probably many times since that moment where having the children and the responsibility and the challenges of continuing to parent them has been hard. But I think I get what you're saying is, like, at that point, having that responsibility was also a point of focus. It's like, I don't know what to do, but I know I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's so like, this at least I can do. I don't know about all the rest, right? Now you went to the accident site, right, Danell?
I tried to go there, and I got to where there was a road closure and they told me it had been a motorcycle accident. So I got in the car to leave and I was going to try to get closer. But just all of a sudden, it just came over me that I just needed to go home. I knew that, it was a series of, it's not a coincidence. He's missing.
Yeah,
There's
and you knew it
been,
wasn't a motorcycle accident or
yeah,
or
yeah. And so I just knew I needed to get home. And then as I was walking in the house, I got a breaking news alert that said there was a fatal vehicle versus bicycle accident.
yeah. Now, Danell, going forward, you made a decision to start sharing this journey.
Mhm.
When was that decision? How far out was that decision? You started to decide you were going to blog about it?
He died in April, and I think it was about July that I started my blog.
Yeah. And I remember seeing the social media posts that occurred, right away.
Mhm.
And, and I think that you were, even from the very beginning, you were amazingly open and gracious, because I remember communicating with you around that time, and you and I didn't know each other well, and still you took the time to respond, and shockingly so, in the midst of all the loss and everything you were dealing with. Why did you decide to start writing about this?
I just was so grateful for, I know that I'm blessed and not everyone has the family or the network of support, but I just was so grateful, and I wanted people to know how much their messages and reaching out to me meant. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to include all of them in the book because there just were way too many, but it made the difference for me. And I can't say that everyone would feel that way. I definitely know that there's people that it would be too much for, but for me, I would say generally, if you're not sure if you should reach out to someone, just go ahead and reach out.
That's such great advice, because we don't know. I mean, I just, you know, it's like, oh, should I give them space? Should I say something? Should I stop by? Should I bring something? What should I do? And I have a feeling most people err on the side of caution rather than on the side of devotion, I suppose. But I'm
Hmm.
not sure if that's quite the way to say it. And you've walked in these shoes. You've walked a lot of miles in these shoes. Um,
Hmm.
Now, ultimately, you found a process of healing, and I'd like for you to describe that for us if you can. What was the journey that brought you to that place of healing?
Well, Patrick was a physical therapist, and a lot of his patients reached out, and some of them shared stories about what a difference he had made in their life. And it made me really sad that someone that had made that big of a difference was no longer going to be able to do that. And I really, I don't know, felt the calling to do something more with my life. And so I enrolled in Grand Canyon University in a master's of professional clinical counseling program. And, over the next several years, I, went to school. I continued blogging. Um, it's been a considerable amount of time spent, some great time with my girls, got to, make some good memories and all. Um, Met my current husband and eventually graduated and was able to open a private practice. So now I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor.
And you're pouring into other people, just like you are in your book, right? You're pouring into other people. You're sharing a message of healing and hope with your clients, and now with the readers of your book. Now, you've been blogging. How many blog posts have you done? This is no small accomplishment.
I don't know that I have a number, but I know when I pulled them all together, and I'm not even 100% sure that I got all of them, but it was like 150,000 words. And I think you had told me like 50,000 would be a good number for the book. And so there's a lot that just didn't even make it to the book.
Well,
Yeah.
and you've done a great job, quite honestly, of crafting the book to be what it needs to be, and and let me show that to everybody, because I know I showed it briefly earlier, but let's take a look here. So suddenly, a widow's story of unexpected loss and healing, and you can get it on Amazon now. It's available there. The paperback is there. Also, the Kindle is on a launch special. It is $1.99 for right now. Now, if you're watching this on replay, it may no longer be $1.99, but it is for right now. So I'd recommend you get that. Also, for those people who don't read Kindle on a regular basis, just to let you know, you have a Kindle reader on your smartphone. You have a Kindle reader on any tablet you might own. And then there are also Kindle readers available for Mac and PCs. So you absolutely have access. So pick up the Kindle today for $1.99. And then also, this is a terrific book to share with someone who has gone on or is in the midst of a journey of loss. If they have lost a loved one, I cannot think of a better resource to put in someone's hands to help them through this journey. Now, Danell, when you had some some resources that helped you through this journey, right? I know that there was some individuals that you came in contact with that also had lost their spouses, and I'm going to call out Leisha Riding right now, because she's the widow of my best friend and business partner who had passed away, and I was overjoyed when I found out that you and she and others had made contact in the midst of this journey. Not everybody has that kind of resource. What do you recommend? I mean, now you counsel people who are going through loss and other challenges. What do you recommend people do when they encounter these situations?
There's a lot of different grief support groups out there. I know Facebook has a lot, and there's different groups that are specific to the type of loss. Option B is the one that comes to mind on Facebook. It's probably the largest one. It was started after a book by Sheryl Sandberg, the former chief operating officer, who was a widow also. There's also Soaring Spirits International, which is an organization for widows and widowers. Most local churches have different grief support groups. And then also, like Heinz Hospice in Fresno, I know, has grief support groups. I just encourage people to try in some way to connect with someone that's been in a similar situation, with a little bit of caution. If you're, on a Facebook group and there's a lot of just really negative stuff, and you're not at a point in your journey where you can read that, then maybe that's not going to be the best place for you. I try to still stay active in those groups and post occasionally, just to provide hope to people that are, new in their journey, that it does get easier. The pain is never going to go away, but it does get easier. And for me, seeing other people have gone through this and have been able to move forward was really what helped me more than anything.
Yeah. I think that's valuable. And yeah, that perspective also about, are you in a place where you're prepared to handle, some of the out of left field comments that might happen on a Facebook group, but at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
You've got some people who've gone through that. I think it's wonderful, Danell, that you devote some time in those groups to provide feedback and to provide perspective. And I'm sure that people derive comfort to know that, 8 years ago you went through this, right? And here you are. I think it's phenomenal that you went back to school to get your degree and to move forward so you can counsel others. I think that's commendable in every way. Um, I've seen some posts and questions come through, and I'd love to bring some up, Danell, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, Diane shared, I'm Danell Mama, and I am so very proud of every single thing she's been able to accomplish with everything she's been through. I love you, Mama.
I love you too, Mama.
That is so wonderful. I'm seeing some questions come in, and wanted to share this one from, let's go here. Well, first, Malia said, congrats, Danell. I bought my copy of the book. I know this moment must be bittersweet, but you should be proud of your book and your message. And you absolutely should be. Zelda asked this question. How did you balance allowing yourself to experience happiness and joy again while still honoring the grieving process?
For me, I was fortunate that Patrick and I were very comfortable in our relationship. I never ever had any doubt of the depth of his love for me and our girls. And, I have always felt him with me. And I feel like the greatest gift is just knowing that whatever I do, whatever decision I make, I know that he would support me. And I feel him cheering me on, and I felt comfortable moving forward in a new relationship. His father walked me down the aisle, which was pretty awesome. Yeah, so just knowing, I know he would want me to be happy, and I know he would want me to keep moving forward.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as someone who would want you, wearing black all the rest of your life or something like that. One question that I've always struggled with is, and you see this some with people who have gone through divorces as well, and other losses. It's that, like, when are you allowed to smile? When are you allowed to have joy and be seen as being joyful? Does it ever, was there a time where you're like, oh gosh, people are going to see me and they're going to not understand how it is that I'm smiling and happy about something going on in my life? Like, how did you handle that?
I think if people knew Patrick, they would never question us smiling, because humor was always a big part of our lives. And kind of a watershed moment for us was the Sunday after he died, was either the finale or premiere of a Game of Thrones episode. And right before we watched it, we watched a video that his bandmate Abdul had made, a tribute video. And we watched that after, and we were all emotional and crying, the girls and I. And in the Game of Thrones episode, there's a character, Jon Snow, that had died, and this red witch brought him back to life. And so, as the girls and I were crying, and I was thinking, okay, I'm feeling like maybe I should say something to make them feel better. My oldest daughter, Sierra, said, I just wish the Red Witch could bring him back. And we all just died laughing, because it was such a Patrick thing. And I just really felt like it was a Patrick moment. So we rely on a lot of things like that, where we use humor and, try to imagine how Patrick would look at a situation and funny things he might say or do.
Yeah. That's a great story. And yeah, I just can't imagine. I mean, yeah, he was one of the funniest guys I knew. So yeah. Malia has a good question here. And she said, was there any part of the writing process, creation or writing process that was cathartic for you? I mean, you started writing just a few months after he passed.
Yeah, from the beginning, it was cathartic because I could just write out everything that I was feeling that I knew I couldn't say out loud, because I didn't want anyone to worry about me. And, and I was feeling like, how am I going to survive this? How can I go on? And, it just was really cathartic to be able to do that. And also just to be able to get down memories and, to know that they were written down and we would have them forever. But I just always tell people, if you have grief bottled up inside of you, one way to get that out is just to imagine it physically coming out in your writing. And just a way to clear it out. And sometimes if people have anger or something, they can do that and then even tear up the paper afterwards. But I think writing can be very cathartic.
Wow. Yeah, I think about, people are going to forget the things that happen around those moments, just like they're going to forget a lot of the great times that they had before, and anything you can do to memorialize those too. When John Riding passed away, there were a series of amazing miracles that happened around that time. And I actually grabbed my video camera and I sat down and recorded everything I could think of, because I just knew those memories would fade and I didn't want them to. And so I think of that. And had you not taken the time to do the writing that you did, how would you tell the story now? Right? How would you memorialize the story and pass it on in such detail? I mean, this is powerful, and just so grateful you took the time to make it happen. Now we have just a couple more minutes here. I did not want this to go by though. Lynn Thompson congratulated you. She said, "Congrats on your special day. Your book and journey inspire me, and I'm honored by her collaboration." I'm grateful for your collaboration.
Me too. And thank you for putting me in touch with Lynn. She's a special person, and I'm so happy that I met her and was able to work with her.
She's fantastic, and I'm glad that she could put her fingerprints on this project as well. Also, I've got to share this. Grace Sherrington from Texas, congratulations from Austin. Such a powerful story.
Thank you.
So thank you, Grace, as well. Well, we need to wrap up here. Danell, if people want to get in touch with you to have you come speak perhaps, or present, or something along those lines, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Probably just my email, danellblackcounselor@gmail.com, or my website, danellblack.com, has a contact button.
Excellent. I'll put that in here into the chat log. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Danell. And thank you again also for putting yours and Patrick's story out there. Not an easy thing to do by any means, but we're grateful you did it. You're touching people's lives in the process.
And thank you, Everett. I don't think I would be here without you. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And I'm grateful that myself and the team could get behind this and do this. All right, I better sign us out here. Thank you again, Danell, and thank you everybody for joining us here. If we can help you here at Ignite Press, just reach out at ignitepress.us, ignitepress.us. Thank you.